Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of Terra's Pride. The ship was not big compared to the military vessels back on Earth, but it was home to him and his crew. They had been traveling through space for 3 months now, looking for new planets and checking star systems that no human had ever seen before. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Lisa Hayes sat at her navigation station, watching the screens that showed their path through space. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she checked their position. Danny Brooks was down in the engine room, making sure everything worked properly. Amy Clark sat at the communications desk, listening for any signals from other ships or planets. Tony Garcia walked around the ship, checking the security systems and weapons. Jake looked out at the stars through the big window at the front of the bridge. This star system had 7 planets, and 2 of them might be good places for humans to live someday. The sun was yellow like Earth's sun, and the planets were the right distance away to have water. It was exactly the kind of place that Earth needed to find. "Captain," Amy said from her station, "I'm getting some strange readings on the long-range sensors." Jake turned his chair to look at her. "What kind of strange?" Amy frowned at her screen. "There's something big out there. Actually, several big things. They're moving toward us, but I can't see them clearly yet." Lisa looked up from her navigation controls. "How big are we talking about?" "Really big," Amy said. Her voice sounded worried. "Bigger than anything we've ever built." Jake stood up and walked over to Amy's station. He looked at her screen and saw several large shapes moving through space toward them. The shapes were still far away, but they were definitely ships of some kind. "How long until they reach us?" Jake asked. "About 10 minutes, Lisa said, checking her own screens. "They're moving fast." Jake pressed a button on his chair. "Danny, we might have company coming." "How are the engines?" Danny's voice came through the speakers. "Engines are running perfect, Captain. We can run if we need to." "Good to know," Jake said. He looked around at his crew. They all looked nervous, but ready. "Let's see what these visitors want." The minutes passed slowly. The unknown ships got closer and closer. As they approached, the crew of Terra's Pride could see them more clearly on their screens. The ships were huge, much bigger than any human ship. They were dark and had strange shapes, unlike anything humans had ever built. "Captain," Amy said, her voice tight with worry, "there are 12 of them. Each one is about 1 kilometer long." Jake whistled softly. Terra's Pride was only 200 meters long. These ships could fit 5 ships like theirs inside just one of their vessels. "Are they sending any messages?" Jake asked. "Not yet," Amy said, "but they're definitely heading straight for us." Suddenly, the space around Terra's Pride shimmered. Like water, the 12 huge ships appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the small human vessel. They had been invisible before, but now they showed themselves in all their frightening size. "Well," Jake said calmly, "that's new." The ships were black and silver, with sharp edges and spikes sticking out in all directions. They looked like they were built for war. Strange lights moved along their hulls, and Jake could see weapon ports that looked bigger than his entire ship. Amy's communication system started beeping. "Captain, they're sending us a message." "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The front window of the bridge changed to show the inside of one of the alien ships. A tall creature stood in the center of what looked like a command deck. The creature had gray skin, 6 arms, and eyes that glowed red. It wore a dark uniform covered with metal decorations. "I am Supreme Commander Vexthar of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire," the alien said in perfect English. Its voice was deep and threatening. "You are in violation of Imperial space. Surrender your vessel immediately, or we will destroy you." Jake looked at the alien on the screen. He looked at the 12 massive warships surrounding his small exploration ship. He thought about how scared he should probably be right now. Then Jake Morrison started. Laughing God, it wasn't a nervous laugh or a scared laugh. It was a real, genuine laugh, like someone had just told him a really good joke. His crew looked at him in surprise, but then Lisa started smiling too. Soon, Danny's laughter could be heard over the communication system from the engine room. The alien commander looked confused. "Did you understand what I said, human? We have 12 battle cruisers surrounding your pathetic vessel. We have weapons that can turn your ship into dust. We have conquered 1,000 worlds and destroyed countless species who dared to oppose us." Jake wiped tears from his eyes and tried to stop laughing. "Oh, I understood you perfectly, Commander. It's just that this is the most interesting thing that's happened to us in months." "Interesting?" The commander repeated, clearly not understanding. "Well, yes," Jake said, settling back into his captain's chair like he was having a casual conversation with an old friend. "See, we came out here to explore and maybe find some new neighbors. Looks like the neighbors found us first. Boys and girls," he called to his crew, "looks like we've got company for dinner." Tony Garcia's voice came over the intercom from the eye. "Security station. Should I break out the good coffee, Captain?" "Might as well," Jake replied. "Our guests look like they might be staying for a while." The alien commander's red eyes grew brighter with anger. "You mock the power of the Zephyrian Empire. No species has ever dared to laugh at our fleet." "Really?" Jake asked, genuinely curious. "That's too bad. Laughter is good for you. Helps you live longer." He paused and looked at the massive ships surrounding them. "Speaking of which, those are some impressive ships you've got there. Very spiky, very threatening. Did you design them yourselves? Or did you hire someone?" The commander was speechless for several seconds. In his 1,000 years of commanding imperial fleets, no species had ever responded to his threats with casual conversation and compliments about ship design. "You will surrender now," the commander finally said, "or face the consequences." Jake nodded seriously. "I appreciate the offer, Commander, but I think we'll pass on the surrendering part. See, we humans had this thing about not giving up without at least seeing what all the fuss is about." Lisa looked up from her navigation station. "Captain, should I send a message back to Earth Command?" "Nah," Jake said. "Let's see what our new friends have in mind first. No point in bothering the folks back home unless things get really interesting." The alien commander cut the communication, and the screen went back to showing the space around them. The 12 massive warships hung in space like dark mountains, their weapons pointed at the tiny human vessel. Amy looked at her captain. "Sir, are we really not going to surrender?" Jake smiled. "Amy, my dear, we're explorers. This is the most exciting thing we've found since we left Earth. Why would we want to miss out on seeing what happens next?" Supreme Commander Vexthalar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the small human vessel on his main screen. In his long career commanding the Imperial fleet, he had never encountered a species that responded to overwhelming force with laughter. It was disturbing and completely outside his understanding of how intelligent species should behave. His second in command, a younger Zephyrian named Krelder, approached him carefully. "Commander, what are your orders?" "The humans refuse to surrender." Vexthalar's red eyes glowed brighter as he thought. "They are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Either way, they need to learn respect for imperial power." On the bridge of Terra's Pride, Jake Morrison was having a much more relaxed conversation with his crew. Danny Brooks had come up from the engine room and was now standing next to the captain's chair, looking out at the alien ships with professional interest. "Those are some serious weapons they've got pointed at us," Danny said calmly. "I count at least 40 energy cannon on each ship, plus what looks like missile tubes and some kind of particle beam array. Lisa Hayes nodded from her station. The energy readings are off the charts. Each of those ships has enough firepower to level a small city. Good thing we're not a small city, Jake replied. How are our shields holding up? All systems green, Tony Garcia reported from his security station. Shields at full power, backup systems ready, and all defensive measures online. Amy Clark looked up from her communications desk. Captain, they're sending another message. Put it through, Jake said. The alien commander appeared on their screen again, looking even more angry than before. This is your final warning, humans. Surrender immediately, or we will be forced to demonstrate the power of Imperial weapons. Jake scratched his chin thoughtfully. Well, Commander, we appreciate the warning, but like I said before, we're pretty curious folks. If you want to show us what those fancy weapons can do, we're not going to stop you. The alien commander looked shocked. You want us to fire on your ship? Well, want is a strong word, Jake said. But if you're going to do it anyway, we might as well get a good look at your technology. Our science teams back home would love to know how your energy systems work. Vex Thalar ended the communication and turned to his weapons officer. Target their engines with a low-power blast. Enough to disable them, but not destroy the ship. We need to show them what happens when species resist the Empire. The weapons officer, a four-armed Zephyrian named Vec Maul, worked at his controls. Targeting their propulsion system. Commander, setting power at 20% of maximum. Fire. Vex Thalar commanded. A bright blue beam of energy shot out from the flagship and struck Terra's Pride. The human ship was surrounded by a brilliant flash of light as the energy hit their shields. The bridge lights flickered for a moment, and the crew felt a slight vibration through the deck. Jake looked around calmly. Everyone okay? Fine here, Captain, Lisa reported. No problems, said Tony. Danny Brooks was looking at his engineering displays with interest. Captain, that was quite a hit. Their energy beam is using some kind of focused plasma technology I've never seen before. Jake pressed the communication button. Hey, Commander, that was pretty impressive. Mind if I ask what kind of power source you're using for those weapons? On the alien flagship, every crew member stared at their screens in disbelief. The human ship should have been crippled. Their engines should have been destroyed, leaving them helpless in space. Instead, the humans were asking technical questions about weapon design. Impossible, Vex Thalar whispered. Our weapons are the most advanced in the galaxy. No ship that size should be able to withstand even a low-power blast. Danny's voice came over Terra's Pride's intercom system from the engine room. Hey, Captain, someone's tickling our shields. Should I boost power to compensate for the minor drain? Jake grinned. Nah, Danny, we're fine. Just some new friends testing out their equipment. Amy Clark opened a channel to the alien ship. Commander Vex Thalar, this is Communications Officer Amy Clark. Just wanted to let you know that our shields are holding up fine. Human ships are built a little differently than what you might be used to. She paused, then continued in a friendly tone. See, we humans come from a planet where everything tries to kill you. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the ground shakes and tries to throw you around sometimes. So when we started building spaceships, we made sure they could handle pretty much anything. Lisa Hayes joined the conversation. Plus, we've been fighting each other for thousands of years with bigger and bigger weapons. We got pretty good at building things that don't break easily. On the alien flagship, Vex Thalar was trying to understand what he was hearing. Their shields are holding against Imperial weapons? His science officer, a tall Zephyrian with pale blue skin, checked his instruments. Commander, their defensive systems are unlike anything in our databases. The energy absorption rate is extraordinary. It's as if their entire ship is designed to withstand massive amounts of damage. Vex Thalar's pride was wounded. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered star systems with displays of power far less than what they had just demonstrated. No species had ever shrugged off Imperial weapons, like. They were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. All ships, he commanded, target the human vessel. Full weapons array, 50% power. Show them what happens when they mock Imperial might. 12 massive battleships turned their weapons toward the small human ship. Hundreds of energy. Cannons powered up, missile tubes loaded, and particle beam arrays focused their targeting systems. Jake Morrison watched the alien ships, prepared to fire, and felt a familiar calm settle over him. It was the same feeling he got whenever a situation moved from talking to action. "Crew," he said quietly, "looks like our new friends want to play rough. Danny, how are the shields?" "Shields at maximum, Captain. All backup systems ready. Emergency power standing by." "Tony, weapon status?" "All defensive systems online, Captain. Countermeasures ready if needed. Amy, keep that channel open. I want our guests to hear how we handle this." "Channel open, Captain." Jake settled back in his chair and watched as 12 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy prepared to demonstrate why the Zephyrian Empire was feared across the stars. "Fire," Commander Vex Thalar ordered. Space around Terra's Pride exploded in light. Hundreds of energy beams struck the small ship from all directions. Missiles detonated against her hull. Particle beams tried to slice through her armor. The combined firepower of 12 Imperial battleships, enough to destroy a small moon, focused on one tiny human exploration vessel. The light was so bright that it could be seen from several star systems away. When it finally faded, the alien crews expected to see empty space where the human ship had been. Instead, Terra's Pride hung in space exactly where she had been before. Her shields glowed softly blue, but they were holding steady. The ship itself showed no damage at all. Jake Morrison's voice came clearly over the communication channel. "Well, that was quite a light show. Very pretty colors. Amy, did you get some good readings on their weapon systems?" "Yes, Captain," Amy replied cheerfully. "Fascinating technology. I'm sending the data to our science division back on Earth. They'll love this." Danny Brooks' voice joined the conversation from engineering. "Captain, that was actually pretty impressive. I'd estimate they hit us with about the same amount of energy as a small solar flare. Our shields handled it just fine, but I'm curious about their power generation methods." Lisa Hayes added her own observations. "Navigation systems show no damage. All ship functions normal. Although I have to say, the light display was beautiful, very artistic. On every alien ship, crew members stood in stunned silence. Their most powerful weapons, fired simultaneously by 12 battleships, had done absolutely nothing to the small human vessel. It was impossible. It defied everything they knew about warfare and technology. Commander Vex Thalar screen, his red eyes wide with shock. "What are these humans?" he whispered. Commander Vex Thalar felt something he had not experienced in centuries of conquest. Confusion mixed with the first hints of fear. His 12 most powerful warships had just fired their combined weapons at a single small vessel, and that vessel was completely undamaged. The humans were not just surviving his attacks, they were commenting on them like they were watching a fireworks show. "All ships surround the human vessel," he ordered his fleet. "Prepare boarding parties. If we cannot destroy them, we will capture them and learn their secrets." The massive Zephyrian battleships moved into a tight formation around Terra's Pride. Each ship was more than 5 times longer than the human vessel, and they blocked out the stars as they closed in from all sides. On Terra's Pride, Jake Morrison watched the alien ships move closer and sighed. "Well, folks, looks like they want to do this the hard way." Lisa Hayes looked up from her navigation station. Captain, they're moving into boarding formation. Classic military textbook maneuver. Tony Garcia checked his security screens. I'm reading energy buildup in what looked like tractor beam projectors. They're planning to grab us and pull us into one of their ships. Jake stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. Danny, how much time do you need to get our systems ready? Danny. Brooks' voice came from engineering. Give me 30 seconds, Captain. I just need to unlock a few safety protocols. Amy Clark looked confused. Safety protocols? Jake smiled, but it was a different kind of smile than before. This one was sharp and cold. Amy, remember when we left Earth and they gave us all those boring safety briefings about what we could and couldn't do with the ship's systems? Yes, sir? Well, it turns out that when people are shooting at you, most of those safety rules don't apply anymore. Danny's voice came over the intercom. Captain, all systems are now unlocked and ready. We are officially no longer in peaceful exploration mode. Thank you, Danny. Jake pressed a button on his chair. Attention, alien vessels. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Terra's Pride. You fired on us twice now, and frankly, we're starting to take it personally. Commander Vex Thalar appeared on the communication screen. Surrender now, human, or we will board your ship and take it by force. Jake nodded thoughtfully. Well, Commander, I appreciate the offer, but here's the thing. We humans have this old saying, don't start a fight you can't finish. You started this fight, and now we're going to finish it. The alien commander looked amused. One small ship against 12 Imperial battleships? Your bravery is admirable, but your chances are 0. Maybe, Jake said. But see, Commander, you made one big mistake. You assumed we were just a peaceful exploration ship. Suddenly, Terra's Pride began to change. Panels slid open along the hull, revealing weapon ports that had been hidden beneath smooth armor plating. Missile launchers extended from compartments that had looked like storage bays. The communications array rotated and reconfigured itself into what was clearly a powerful energy weapon. Holy stars, whispered Krelder on the alien flagship. That's not an exploration vessel. It is an exploration vessel, Jake said, somehow hearing the comment. It's just a human exploration vessel. See, we learned a long time ago that space is dangerous, and when you're far from home, you need to be ready for anything. More changes occurred across Terra's Pride's hull. Point defense systems emerged from hidden mounting points. Armor plates shifted to reveal additional weapon systems. The ship's engines glowed brighter as more power flowed through them. The thing is, Commander, Jake continued, humans have been perfecting the art of warfare for about 50,000 years. We fought with sticks and stones, swords and shields, guns and bombs, and eventually plasma cannons and nuclear missiles. We got pretty good at it. Lisa Hayes began entering commands at her navigation station. Captain, I'm plotting attack. Patterns. Shall I use the Morrison Spiral or the Hayes Special? Let's start with something simple, Jake replied. How about Pattern 7? Pattern 7 it is, sir. Amy Clark was working at her communication station, but she wasn't just managing communications anymore. Captain, I'm jamming their targeting systems and communication networks. Also, I'm broadcasting some of Earth's greatest hits on their emergency frequencies. Good thinking, Amy. Nothing disrupts military coordination like unexpected music. Tony. Garcia's voice came from the security station. Captain, I'm detecting weak points in their ship designs. Their armor is thick but inflexible. Also, their weapon ports are poorly protected. Excellent work, Tony. Danny, how are our power levels? All systems at maximum, Captain. We're ready for whatever you want to do. Jake sat back down in his captain's chair. Gentlemen and lady, let's show our guests how humans explore the galaxy. Terra's Pride suddenly accelerated forward, moving faster than the massive alien ships could track. The human vessel slipped between two of the battleships, like a fish swimming between whales' as it passed the first alien ship. Terra's Pride fired a spread of missiles that struck the battleship's weapon arrays with surgical precision. The explosions disabled the alien ship's guns without destroying the vessel itself. What just happened? Vex Thalar demanded. His weapons officer checked his displays. Sir, the human ship just took out our forward weapons array on the Destroyer of Worlds. No casualties, but those weapons are completely disabled. Jake's voice came over the communication channel. Sorry about that, Commander. We didn't want to hurt anyone, but we needed to make sure you couldn't shoot at us while we were talking. Terra's Pride continued moving through the alien formation, too fast and agile for the huge battleships to target effectively. Each time it passed near an alien vessel, precise shots disabled key systems without causing major damage. This is impossible, Vex Thalar said. How can one small ship outmaneuver 12 battleships? Lisa Hayes answered over the open channel. Well, your ships are very impressive, Commander, but they're built for fighting other big ships in straight lines. We humans learned to fight differently. Amy Clark added, we had to learn to be sneaky and unpredictable. On Earth, the big, slow fighters usually got eaten by the small, fast ones. Terra's Pride spun around one of the alien ships, firing at specific points on the hull. The shots didn't penetrate the armor, but they disrupted the ship's sensors and communication equipment. You see, Commander, Jake explained as his ship continued its attack, you've been conquering species that fight the same way you do. Big ships, straight lines, overwhelming force. That works great against people who think like you do. Another alien battleship found its engines temporarily disabled by precise shots from Terra's Pride. The massive ship drifted helplessly while its crew tried to restart their propulsion systems. But humans don't think like you do, Jake continued. We change our tactics every time we fight. We adapt. We improvise. We use whatever works, and when that stops working, we try something else. Tony Garcia's voice joined the conversation. Plus, we've been fighting other humans for thousands of years. Other humans who are just as smart and tricky as we were. You guys are tough, but you're not that creative. 3 more alien ships found their main weapons offline as Terra's Pride danced between them like a hummingbird among elephants. The human ship was everywhere at once, striking at weak points the aliens didn't even know they had. Impossible. Vex Thalar repeated. Our ships are the most advanced in the galaxy. Oh, they're definitely advanced, Danny Brooks said from engineering. Very impressive technology. But see, advanced and practical aren't always the same thing. Your ships are built to look scary, can shoot really big guns. Our ship is built to survive and win fights. Amy Clark giggled as she sent another burst of jamming signals toward the alien fleet. Also, Commander, we've been listening to your communications. You guys are very formal and polite with each other. That's nice, but it makes you predictable. Jake's ship completed another pass through the alien formation, leaving 2 more battleships with disabled weapon systems. The thing is, Commander, we humans learned that in a real fight, there are no rules except winning and surviving. Everything else is just suggestions. Commander Vex Thalar looked around his bridge at his confused and frightened crew. Half of his fleet was disabled, and they had not managed to land a single effective shot on the human vessel. This was not how battles were supposed to go. What do you want from us? He finally asked. Jake's voice became friendlier again. Well, Commander, we'd like to have a nice conversation about who you are, where you come from, and why you thought it was a good idea to shoot at us. But first, I think we need to have a talk about manners. Just as Commander Vex Thalar was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. His sensors officer called out from across the bridge. "Commander, I'm detecting new ships entering the system. Multiple contacts coming from different directions." Vex Thalar's red eyes grew wide. More human ships? How many vessels did this species have? How many ships? "I count ... 15 ... no 20. 27 contacts, and still increasing, sir." On Terra's Pride, Amy Clark looked up from her communication station with a big smile. "Captain, we've got friends incoming." The new Boston just dropped out of hyperspace, along with Pacific Runner and Frontier's Edge. Looks like the whole neighborhood heard about our little party. Jake Morrison grinned. "Well, that's what happens when you send a distress beacon. Human ships tend to come running when one of their own is in trouble." The first ship to arrive was the new Boston, a converted cargo hauler that was twice the size of Terra's Pride. Captain Ryan Murphy's face appeared on the communication screen. "Hey, Jake," Ryan said casually, like he was calling to chat about the weather. "We were in the next system over when we picked up your beacon. Thought you might need some help with your new friends." "Appreciate it, Ryan," Jake replied. "Though, I think we've got things under control." "So I see," Ryan laughed, looking at the alien battleships with their disabled weapons. "Nice work. Very neat and tidy." The second ship to arrive was Pacific Runner, which looked like it had been built from spare parts of a dozen different vessels. Captain Beth Williams appeared on screen next to Captain Murphy. "Jake Morrison, you always find the most interesting neighbors," Beth said with a grin. "Those are some seriously ugly ships they've got there." "Now, Beth, be nice," Jake replied. "They're just not used to making friends the human way." More ships continued to appear throughout the star system. Some were military vessels with clean lines and obvious weapons. Others were civilian ships that had been hastily fitted with whatever weapons their crews could find. A few looked like they were held together with spare parts and pure determination. "Commander," Vex Thalar watched in growing horror as more and more human vessels materialized around his fleet. "How many ships are coming?" His sensors officer's voice was shaking. 43 contacts now, sir. They're still arriving." Captain Carl Johnson of Frontier's Edge joined the conversation. His ship was smaller than the others, but looked fast and dangerous. "Sorry we're late to the party, folks. We were 3 systems away when we heard Jake was having trouble with some uninvited guests." Jake pressed his communication button to address all the human ships. "Thanks for coming, everyone. Our friends here from the Zephyrian Empire were just explaining their policy of shooting first and asking questions later." A new voice joined the conversation from a ship called Liberty Bell. "Well, that's not very neighborly of them." Another captain from a vessel named Star Chaser added, "Maybe they just need someone to teach them better manners." Commander Vex Thalar finally found his voice. "How many ships do you humans have?" Beth Williams answered cheerfully. "Oh, that's hard to say, Commander. Word tends to spread when someone threatens one of our ships. We humans have this thing about looking out for each other." Ryan Murphy nodded. "Plus, a lot of us were in the area anyway. Trade routes, exploration missions, cargo runs. When we heard shooting, we figured we'd stop by and see if we could help." The alien commander looked at his tactical displays. The human ships weren't arranged in any formation he recognized. They seemed to be scattered randomly throughout the system, but somehow they had his entire fleet surrounded. Each human vessel was different from the others, and none of them matched anything in the Zephyrian military database. "This is impossible," Vex Thalar whispered. "You can't coordinate so many different ships without a central command structure." Captain Johnson laughed. "Commander, you're thinking like a military guy." "We're not military." "Well, some of us are, but most of us are just regular folks with ships. We don't need someone to tell us what to do." A woman's voice came from a ship called Desert Rose. "When humans are in trouble, Other humans help. It's just what we do. Amy. Clark had been monitoring the communications between all the human ships. Captain, they're not using any official military channels. They're just talking to each other like friends. Jake nodded. That's because most of them are friends, Amy, or at least friendly neighbors. More ships continued to arrive. A massive vessel called Iron Mountain appeared, followed by 3 smaller ships that looked like they were designed for speed. Then came a ship that appeared to be a mobile repair facility, complete with manufacturing equipment. Commander, Jake said to the alien leader, I think it's time we had that conversation about manners I mentioned earlier. Vexthalar looked around at his bridge crew. Half of his battleships were disabled, and they were now outnumbered 4-1 by human vessels that had appeared from nowhere. Worse, the human ships didn't behave like any military force he had ever encountered. What kind of military force is this? He asked. It's not a military force, Beth Williams replied. It's just humans being humans. We stick together. Captain Murphy's ship, New Boston, moved closer to the alien flagship. See, Commander, when you threatened Jake's ship, you didn't just threaten one human. You threatened all of us. A gruff voice from a ship called Rough Justice added, and we take that personally. The human ships began moving in what looked like random patterns, but Vixthalar realized they were actually coordinating perfectly. Each ship knew exactly where the others were and what they were doing, without any apparent central command. How do you coordinate so many vessels without military? Discipline? He asked. Jake answered, Commander, we've been working together for thousands of years, without needing someone to tell us every move to make. We trust each other to do the right thing. Lisa Hayes looked up from her navigation station. Plus, most of us have been talking to each other over the communication networks for hours now. We know who's good at what and who should do what. Tony Garcia added, and we've all been in fights before. Maybe not space battles, but fights. We know how to work as a team. A new ship arrived, this one clearly a warship with heavy armor and large weapons. The captain introduced himself as Commander Pete Stone of the Vigilant. Sorry I'm late, Stone said. I was on patrol 2 systems over. Came as soon as I heard there was trouble. Vexthalar counted the human ships again. There were now over 50 vessels surrounding his fleet, and they were still arriving. Some were obviously military, but most appeared to be civilian ships that had been armed for self-defense. What do you want from us? He finally asked. Jake's voice became serious, but not unfriendly. Well, Commander, first we want you to understand that shooting at human ships is a bad idea. Second, we'd like to know why you thought it was a good idea in the first place. Beth Williams added, and third, we want to make sure this doesn't happen again to other humans who might be exploring this part of space. Ryan Murphy's ship moved closer to one of the disabled alien battleships. These are some impressive vessels. Commander, very advanced technology. It would be a shame if we had to fight seriously. Fight seriously? Vexthalar asked. You mean this was not a serious fight? Jake laughed. Commander, we disabled half your weapons without destroying a single ship or hurting anyone in your crews. If we were fighting seriously, this conversation would be over already. Captain Stone's warship Vigilant powered up its main weapons array. This is what serious looks like, Commander. But we'd rather not use it. The alien commander looked at the dozens of human ships surrounding his fleet, each one different, but all working together perfectly. He thought about how easily they had disabled his most powerful warships. He thought about how they had appeared from across multiple star systems to help each other. For the first time in his long career, Commander Vexthalar realized he was completely outmatched. What happens now? He asked quietly. Commander Vexthalar stood on his bridge, surrounded by his confused and frightened crew, looking at the tactical display that showed over 60 human ships now scattered throughout the star system. Each alien battleship was surrounded by multiple human vessels, but strangely, the humans weren't pointing their weapons at them anymore. Jake Morrison's voice came over the communication system, calm and friendly again. "Commander, I think it's time we had a proper conversation. Would you like to come aboard Terra's Pride? I promise we won't bite." Vextalar looked at his officers. His second-in-command, Krelder, stepped forward. "Commander, this could be a trap." "Everything about these humans could be a trap," Vextalar replied quietly. "But they've had plenty of chances to destroy us, and they haven't. I think they really do want to talk." An hour later, Commander Vextalar found himself sitting in what the humans called their mess hall aboard Terra's Pride. It was nothing like the formal meeting rooms on Imperial ships. The walls were covered with pictures of Earth, family photos, and what looked like artwork made by children. The furniture was comfortable rather than impressive. Jake Morrison sat across from him at a simple table, holding a cup of something that smelled pleasant. Danny Brooks sat nearby, still wearing his work clothes from the engine room. Lisa Hayes had brought her navigation charts to show the alien commander where they had been exploring. "This is not what I expected," Vextalar admitted, looking around. "The room. What did you expect?" Jake asked, genuinely curious. "A military briefing room. Weapons pointed at me. Demands for surrender." Amy Clark laughed from where she sat near the communication console. "Commander, we're explorers, not conquerors. We came out here to see what's beyond our solar system, not to take over other people's territory. But your ships, your weapons, your tactics," Vextalar said. "You fight like a military force that has conquered many worlds." Danny Brooks shook his head. "We fight like people who've had to survive in a dangerous universe. There's a difference." Tony Garcia joined the conversation from his security station. "Commander, can I ask you something? In all your conquests, how many species actually wanted to fight you?" Vextalar thought about it. "Most surrendered immediately when they saw our fleet. Those who resisted were usually desperate or had nowhere to run." "Right," Tony said. "So you've never fought anyone who was actually prepared for a fight. You've been bullying people who couldn't defend themselves." The alien commander's red eyes flashed with anger, but then he stopped and thought about what the human had said. It was true. The Zephyrian Empire had grown powerful by conquering species that were either primitive or peaceful. They had never encountered a civilization that was both advanced and willing to fight back. "Your species is different," he said slowly. "How so?" Jake asked. "You prepare for war even when you seek peace. You help each other without being commanded to do so. You fight as individuals but work together perfectly. I do not understand how this is possible." Lisa Hayes looked up from her charts. "Commander, where I come from on Earth, we have these animals called wolves. They hunt in packs, and each wolf knows what the others will do without anyone telling them. They're family." "Family?" Amy Clark smiled. "All humans are family, Commander. Maybe not blood family, but family. When you threatened Jake's ship, you threatened all of our family." Vextalar was quiet for a long moment. "The Empire has conquered over 1,000 worlds. We are the most powerful force in this part of the galaxy." "I believe it," Jake said. "Your ships are impressive, and your technology is advanced. But, Commander, you've been conquering people who couldn't fight back. What happens when you meet someone who can?" Danny Brooks leaned forward. "See, the thing is, we humans spent thousands of years fighting each other. We got really good at it. Then we decided we'd rather explore space together than keep fighting on Earth. But you brought your fighting skills with you," Tony added, "because space is dangerous, and there's no guarantee that everyone you meet will be friendly." Vextalar looked around at the human crew. They were relaxed and friendly. but he could sense the strength underneath their casual manner. These were not people to be underestimated. "What do you want from the Empire?" he asked. Jake sipped his coffee and thought about it. "Well, Commander, we'd like to be friends if possible. Trade, maybe share technology, learn about each other's cultures. But if you can't be friends, we'd settle for being left alone." "And if the Empire refuses both options?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Every human in the mess hall became very still and very quiet. "Commander," Jake said softly, "we really hope it doesn't come to that." Amy Clark's communication console beeped, and she checked her screen. "Captain, I'm getting messages from 47 more human ships asking if they should come help." 47 more? Vex Thalar asked weakly. "Word spreads fast," Lisa explained. "By now, probably every human ship within 50 light years knows about our little encounter. They're all asking if they should come running." Jake pressed a button on Amy's console. "This is Captain Morrison to all human vessels. Thanks for the offers of help, but we've got things under control here. Our guests are being very reasonable." Danny Brooks grinned at the alien commander. "You see, Commander, the ships you've met today are just the ones who happen to be close by. If you really wanted to fight all of humanity, well, we've got colonies on over 200 worlds and ships scattered across half the galaxy. But we'd really rather be friends," Jake added quickly. Vex Thalar was beginning to understand the true scope of what he had stumbled into. The Zephyrian Empire had attacked what they thought was a single, isolated ship. Instead, they had picked a fight with an entire species that was spread across hundreds of star systems and had ships that could appear anywhere within days. "How many ships do humans have?" he asked. Tony Garcia shrugged. "Hundreds? Thousands? Nobody really keeps count. We build ships when we need them, and we need them for exploration, trade, research, defense, mining, manufacturing, transportation. Pretty much everything. And they would all come if humans were threatened?" "Eventually," Amy said. "It might take time for word to spread and for ships to travel. But yeah, they'd come." Jake stood up and walked to one of the pictures on the wall. It showed a blue and green planet with white clouds. "Commander, this is Earth. It's not a perfect world, and we humans aren't perfect people. We've made mistakes, we've fought wars, we've done things we're not proud of." He turned back to face the alien commander. "But we learned something important from all those mistakes. We learned that we're stronger together than apart. We learned that helping each other is better than conquering each other." Vex Thalar looked at the picture of Earth, then at the humans around him. And if the Empire cannot learn this lesson? The mess hall was quiet for a moment. Finally, Jake sat back down. "Commander, we hope your Empire is smart enough to learn from what happened. Here today, you attacked one small ship and ended up facing 60 vessels, with hundreds more ready to come if needed. Now imagine what would happen if you attacked a human colony with 1 million people on it." Danny Brooks nodded. "We don't want to fight the Empire, Commander. We've got better things to do with our time. But if you force us to fight, we'll win." "How can you be so certain?" Lisa Hayes answered quietly. "Because we're not fighting for conquest or glory, Commander. We're fighting for family." Amy Clark checked her communications again. "Captain, Commander Vestelar's fleet is receiving messages from their home base. Looks like word of this encounter is spreading on their side too." Vex Thalar activated his personal communicator and spoke in his own language to his ship. After a brief conversation, he turned back to the humans. "I have been ordered to return to Imperial space immediately to report on this encounter. The High Command wants to know everything about your species and your capabilities." "That's probably wise," Jake said. "What will you tell them?" The alien commander was quiet for a long time, thinking. Finally, he spoke. I will tell them that we have encountered a species unlike any other in the galaxy. I will tell them that humans are dangerous when threatened, but prefer peace when possible. I will tell them that any attempt to conquer humanity would be the end of the Empire." Jake smiled. "And will they listen to you?" "Some will. Others will not believe until they see for themselves." Vex the Lar stood up. "But I will make sure they understand that humans are not to be attacked without extreme provocation." As the alien commander prepared to leave, Tony Garcia asked one last question. "Commander, what made you think it was okay to attack a ship? That hadn't done anything to you?" Vex the Lar stopped at the door. "Because that is what the Empire does. We take what we want, and no one has ever been strong enough to stop us." "Until now," Genny said quietly. "Until now," the commander agreed. An hour later, the Zephyrian fleet began moving away from the human ships. Their weapons remained powered down, and they made no threatening moves. Before they left the star system, Commander Vex the Lar sent one final message. "Captain Morrison, thank you for the lesson in humanity. I hope our species can find a way to coexist peacefully." Jake pressed the communication button. "Commander, we hope so too. If your people ever want to talk instead of shoot, we'll be listening." As the alien ships disappeared,